since you're here, like we're gonna spend like the first half an hour minimum to talk about the different clans and stuff like that. And let's see what we have. So, clan. According to kindred mythology, Cain sired three children, who in turn sired children themselves. This third generation came into being before the Great Flood, and some say it was their sin that called it down. The survivors, known as the antediluvians, became the progenitors of the modern clans. Each antediluvian's blood endures in their descendants, feeding the common powers, weaknesses, and perhaps even the behavior and beliefs of the kindred who belongs to the clan they begat. Tonight, there are 13 distinct clans along with innumerable minor bloodlines as well as the caitiff and the Tin Bloods who prouder and more powerful lineage reject. So yeah, basically when we talk about kindred, we're talking about vampires don't call themselves vampires. They're talking in code, so they say they're kindred. So we're like they're alike. So we're gonna talk. So first clan, they're in alphabetical order. So that's why we're gonna talk about Kadif in second. So we're gonna mention Bruja first. Clan Bruja, the Learned Clan, Rabble. The dream of the Learned Clan is a world when all injustice has been eliminated and the living and the undead can coexist in peace. They say it is for the love of the mortals that they lead them against their masters. In truth, they may simply rage against a distant or non-existent god they can never fight, against a curse they can never end. Theirs is a dream that poisons everything it touches. As they infiltrate or instigate revolution, their hunger and passion ensure that blood will flow, innocents die, and peace never be attained. Clan Bruja always have embraced from the ranks of those sympathetic to the counterculture and revolution. They seek out allies who question normative ideas, and recognizing the fire of the oppressed, they gravitate towards the underdog. Common perception plays punks, gang members, maladjusted immigrant, rejected by the society that should protect them, and placard carrying and Molotov wielding rioters among the Bruja. While the clan definitely includes substantial number of vocals and visible outsiders, their desire for rebellion reaches as deep as the froster ripping off his own company, the lawyer representing the poor pro bono, the neo-Nazi claiming to be alt-right, and the basement dweller downloading thousands of movies illegally for redistribution on streaming sites. Fledgling embrace to fight and protest are commonly known as rabble. The Bruja can be passionate fighters, but also critical thinkers. The clan activists are often very different from the clan terrorists. On many occasions, the latter are embraced from former gender studies or sociology students, those who have survived near-death experience, and people who have in other ways suffered and endured great personal loss. The philosophical Bruja, known as Hellenes, believe the best method of dismantling the establishment is to understand the social and cultural system that allow it to exist in the first place. Then we have the caitiff. The caitiff are the clanless, the orphans. Not all kindred inherit the curse of one of the 13. Some don't care what their lineage is. Certain bloodlines of kindred have always been clanless, and sometimes children of the clans are just born different. They're often discarded, exiled, or chose to distance themselves from the clans that despite them. Pure vampire, the caitiff, make up for what they lose in respect and pedigree by flexible blood and the absence of a crippling bane. Proud or ashamed of their clanless nature as they may be, these creatures have no family and represents vampirism as its purest and most individualistic. Many kindred incorrectly assume all caitiff are created accidentally, that the clanless target no mortals for the embrace. This view is outdated and ignorant. These knights, the clanless, are increasingly becoming a force to be reckoned with. Though more disparate, individualistic, and chaotic than their cousins, they are all survivors, and they have begun to gather, build alliances, and make children of their own. The caitiff, who seek out mortals to perform the embrace, generally target the strong-willed and those used to uncommon hardship. A caitiff's position in the hierarchy of kindred is at the bottom, just above the tin-blooded who should not have been born at all, and they are forced to fight for their place or fall and be forgotten. The caitiffs see little point in embracing mortals unlikely to make it through the night on their own. While the caitiff have begun to purposely increase their numbers, most are still created when a fledgling embraced into one of the clans does not form an attachment with their ancestral blood and does not exhibit the telltale sign of their clan's curse. When other kindreds talk to the caitiff, they tell tales of Nosferatu abandoned for weeks to end up without ever developing any hideousness, painfully sane Malkavians, and young Ventru able to feed from whoever they want. I know, right? Unwilling to accept such a child as one of their own, the clan abandon them. Or the child senses in their blood that they do not belong, despite their sire's protest. The creation of a caitiff is not an exact science, and many abandoned childers still manifest some of the characteristic of their parents' clan, despite the absence of their bane. Then we have Clan Gangrel, the wolves, the animals, the pharaohs, a hunger older than mankind burns inside the wolves. When other kindred curse their appetite and chose the gilded cage of the city and the leash of social hierarchy, the wolves accept the beast as a part of themselves and run free, crossing borders between species, nations, and domains with the ease of perfect predators. They belong to the wild, and the wild belongs to them. To think of them as noble savages is perilous, as the animals have little respect for the arrogance of civilization, and only the strongest survive their bloody hunts and savage initiation. Trading stories of war and the secret histories of their kind around campfire lit with the bones of their oppressors, they have turned their backs on the Camarilla and fight tooth and claw to escape the endless plots of their fellow kindred. Clan Gangrel are outcasts, wanderers, rogues, and hunters. They make havens in the poorest parts of the city and feel no shame for doing so. They claim few domains as their own but defer to no prince. If a feral enters a city, the prince will either accept it or have to fight the feral to get them to back down. Gangrel embrace from the ranks of survivors and fighters, leaders of prison crews and gangs, explorers, urban and otherwise, and any kind who's seen the world as something to traverse instead of something to hide from. They care not for looks or title, but for accomplishment and reputation. A child may be a challenge, but the clan follows rituals and initiation to ensure the fledgling is worth the time. Success means a new honored member of the clan. Failure means simply a forgettable reject or a pile of ash. An immortal capable of projecting their will onto others, leading a group from disaster to success, or fighting impossible odds draws the clan's attention. This fact results in a symptom known as too many chiefs, when the clan consists of more leaders than followers. Custom encourages fight for dominance, but these rarely last until final death, as Gangrel elders advocate against taking competition for authority personally, instead encouraging a culture of healthy rivalry. Then we have Clan Malkavian, the Clan of the Moon, the Children of Malkav, lunatics. Psychologists would diagnose the children of Malkav with schizophrenia, depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Sometimes, all at once. In reality, they have all of these things and none. Like the wise madmen of poetry, their derangement stems from being too much of the world at once, from understanding too deeply and feeling emotions that are too strong to bear. They self-medicate with blood, but that is just a temporary solution. It has long been the misconception that few kindred families are as disparate as the Clan of the Moon. Other clans see them and reason they are each mad, so why should their respective origin matters? To the Malkavians, origin matters a great deal, though sires may pick children from all walks of life, age group, ethnicities, and genders. Every mortal selected for the embrace possesses something only visible to a Malkavian. One of the gifts the Malkavian look for in the mortal is what they call second sight. If a person interprets dreams, can perceive spirits, or unerringly predicts future events, the Malkavians take notice. Such a person acts as a beacon, calling out to every member of the clan that sees them. Another gift revered by the Malkavians is that of insight, a high level of empathy, finely tuned knowledge of complex subject matter, or just an obsessive drive to pursue the answers to philosophical questions each appeal to the clan. As insight is often tied to profession, the clan benefits from a range of academics and doctors, especially therapists and psychologists. Finally, the clan of the moon are fascinated by the broken, individuals who have been changed by traumatic experience or who were simply born slightly detached from themselves and the rest of society. To the Malkavians, they are but one gentle push away from having access to an altogether different plane of reality. Rather than treating them as burdens, the clan sees them as having great potential. All Malkavians suffer mental illness following the embrace, sometimes accentuating an existing condition, other times adding a new dimension to their instability. As if their thoughts and action were based on otherworldly logic, there seems to be no knowing when their condition will manifest destructively or when it will offer important perspective where such were previously lacking. As a rule, no other kindred feels completely comfortable around a known Malkavian, often viewing them as unpredictable maniacs whose flashes of insight are rarely were the fits of insanity. Some Malkavian claim there is a common factor to their madness, that they are all psychically linked through a communal wavelength, a shared consciousness of sorts. Those who are aware of its existence refer to it as the cobweb, or most recently, the madness network. Next, Clan Nosferatu, the clan of the hidden sewer rats. Oh, I just realized there's some logos of the clans. I want to check Bruja. Yeah, it's the inverted anarchy sign. The caitiff is just an ankh. Gangrel is the wolf face. Malkavian is the broken mirror. So Nosferatu is a sad mask, like it's a theater mask it's a Greek sad theater mask. Those who would doubt that the embrace is a curse need to look no further than the Nosferatu. Twisted by the mark of Cade, members of Clan Nosferatu are warped by the embrace into hideous monsters. As such, they skulk and keep to the shadows, and they often rouse the ire and mockery of other kindred for their nightmarish appearances. Still others are so terrified or revolted by the Nosferatu that these warped kindred have little social interaction at all. To their credits, the Nosferatu come to possess many of the whispered secrets of their reluctant fellows. For the Nosferatu, the embrace is a journey through abjection, as the blood of the horror gradually deforms the struggling tissue of the human body into grotesque abomination. Weeks of pain results in deformities similar to terrible birth defect, cancerous growth, crippling injuries, and leper-like sores. Those who endure it find themselves as monstrous echoes of Murnau's silver-screen vision. But perhaps pain and humiliation teach compassion. The Nosferatu, as they jokingly call themselves, are the most humane of the kindred, wearing their curse on the outside rather than the inside. To blend in, some call on the blood to wear the borrowed faces of their victims or disappeared from sight, while others rely on prosthetics and heavy makeup. The sewer rats enjoy a grudging respect as the information brokers of the kindred, given their supernatural acumen and stealth and the fact that the many kindred would rather ignore them than acknowledge them. Savvy Nosferatu exploit this for all it's worth, turning the hypocrisy of other vampires to their own profit. On the whole, the Nosferatu condition is lonely and alienating. How they react to the curse of Cade varies with their outlooks and mental stamina, but it's hard to object of other revulsion and not let it shape one's disposition towards one's kindred in some way. Some of the sewer rats are cruel, as blighted on the inside as they are on the outside, while others are tragic, wretched creature who has been cursed with eternal outsider status through no choice of their own. A few of the sewer rats even position themselves as prophets or avatars of the damned, physically embodying the haunting riddle, a beast I am, lest a beast I become. Clan Toreador, the clan of the Rose, the Divas. Cursed by their unbridled sensuality, the Divas are obsessed by aesthetic perfection. A fashion model overdosing on bad batch of heroin, a video of a perfectly executed beheading, the dazed eyes of a child who has seen too much, or the reflection of the moon in a pool of blood. These are the kinds of things that makes a Toreador lose themselves. They say the first diva finally died in front of their looking glass, unable to tear their gaze away from the image of their face touched by the reflected dawn. But to dismiss the Toreador as wanton perverts or shallow artists is the last mistake a kindred will ever make. Beauty is power, and love can make anyone do just about anything. And that is the promise of the Toreador. They can make even the dead feel something raw, something real. Clan Toreador has ever preached selectiveness in its rituals of the Embrage. The clan elders stress time and again that the clan requires pioneers among the arts and every kind of avant-garde. The clan is at its strongest when comprised of the freshest thinkers and those who desire experimentation and aesthetics discovery. For this reason, many Toreador emerge from the ranks of accomplished artists, both new and faded. But not all artists need wield a brush. To the Toreador, art encompasses all form of entertainment and stimulation. The clan courts the greatest actors, singers, writers, dancers, and even sex workers, if the degenerates believe such mortal will offer something youth to their clan. Despite the custom of embracing only the best, the Toreador's fixation on beauty and innocence has caused many a diva to make a fledgling in haste. Many a moonlight night, new clan members have emerged as shallow hedonists, one-hit wonders, or just a stunning body with nothing else to offer. Their greatest mistakes are erased and forgotten. Still, the clan is diverse, its members considering the ensemble as a kaleidoscope of talent and beauty. Then we have the Tremere. The Usurpers, the Warlocks. A hermetic mage in 8th century Romania, Tremere was the leader of cabal of magic users rightfully feared for their obsession with knowledge and power. Able to prolong his life unnaturally for centuries, his powers eventually lessened and his grip on youth became shaky. Unable or unwilling to accept its own mortality, Tremere cast his eyes on the hallowed secrets of immortality. In his greed, the mage instigated the most terrifying magical experiments ever conducted, damning himself and his followers to a hell of their own making. Thousands of mortals were murdered and hundreds of kindreds vivisected and trained in ritual circles before Tremere and his cultists thought they had found the elixir of life. How surprised they were to have discovered the curse of Cade! Terrified, they died and woke again to an eternity of unlife and hunger, cut off from their craft. In the mockery of their former magical rituals, not only fresh blood allows the Tremere to cast their thaumaturgic spells to twist reality. After the Second Inquisition destroyed the Prime Chantry in Vienna in 2008, the Tremere fell from great eminences to persona non grata in many regions. The arrogance of the pyramid has made the usurper few friends. But the need for sorcery has not disappeared. If anything, it grows as the cursed blood shifts in the vein of the kindred. Without the pyramid ordering them into rank and value, the warlocks find themselves competing with their fellow kindred and increasingly with each other for anything that might allow them to regain some of their former power. A clan-wide chase for artifacts and grimoires belonging to their ashen ancestors rival the societal intrigues and ugliness, and the alliance with the Camarilla is an oft-used weapon between the House of Clan Tremere. Meanwhile, the term mercenary magus is becoming increasingly widespread as warlocks were formerly bound by the will of their master find themselves free to serve for whatever price they choose. Tremere serve in three ways. The warlocks serve the other clans with occult expertise, they serve the Camarilla with blood sorcery, and they serve themselves with their mission to grasp power. Though more Tremere ascend to Praxis these knights than never before, they still claim fewer thrones worldwide than Clan Nosferatu. In truth, most warlocks acknowledge that becoming the prince is only useful if it helps them expand their knowledge. Tremere see true power as knowing the ways of shaping the world, having access to the right blood, and owning the rarest of ancient artifacts. As the Tremere ally with confused coteries seeking them out, hunt for well-protected relics and artifacts, or closely analyze fragments of lore relating to the Canaanite mythos, all the while miserably guarding their secrets from each other. They're all united in their thirst for knowledge. A kindred who wishes to understand a piece of their history will do well to approach the Tremere for answers, as long as they are at peace with sharing a few secrets of their own, knowingly or otherwise. And finally, Clan Ventrue, a scepter and a sword. The Clan of Kings, Blue Bloods. In their own eyes, only the Clan of Kings have the restraint, the wisdom, the control, and the pedigree to lead their kind through the night. Throughout their time as god kings of ancient Babylon and lords of ladies of the Dark Ages to their contemporary role as guardians of royal blood, majority shareholders, and campaign fund backers, they have been obsessed with the impulse to rule. They collect their tithes to the form of precious blood, ensuring the growth of their legacy, while many other clans claim position of influence in politics and business. No one can rival the Ventrue in the game of pure power and wealth. But lately, their arrogant projection as divinely chosen rulers, better fit to lead than any other clan, have begun to falter. Time is running out. As they feel their privileges slipping through their fingers, the Ventrue tighten their grip to the fight fang and claw to remain in control of the master of their kind. Clan Ventrue has long been the leaders of the Camarilla, holding more position of power than any other clan, and they are loath to give that up. Even after losing their most prominent representative to a Bruja assassination, the Ventrue continue to maintain that they are destined to rule our kindred, no matter the sacrifice involved. The Ventrue believe in the strength of tradition and lineage. The embrace is one of their most important rituals, and the choice of child affects the way other members of the clan treat the sire. Ventrue therefore aim to embrace overachiever, politically or financially powerful kind, or those with a talent that sets them apart from the masses. These knights, the Ventrues, are cautious. The talentless fall by the wayside, while the best blend in with humanity as bankers, shadow directors, reclusive moguls, and chiefs of staff. No longer can a Ventrue openly lead a board or take a prominent position in the mortal community. They resent having to influence their surroundings from the shadows, but know that the risk of a fatal masquerade breach is too high to risk anything else. The Ventrue are the establishment. They set and maintain the rules, punishing those who break them, and occasionally rewarding those who follow. Their critics consider them tyrants or the jailers of the kindred. The uncomfortable truth is that without them, the Masquerade and the Camarilla with it would have fallen long ago. The Ventrue are more loyal to their cause these nights than ever before. Adversity only making them more determined to succeed and more certain that they have the right to do whatever it takes. Next, we have... Where am I? Okay. Sect, Camarilla, Prince. Prince, a vampire who has claimed given expanses of domain as their own, generally a city, and support that claim against all others. It is also a genderless title. Females can become prince, not princesses. The Red Salon, A low profile and comfortable place where all the Boston kindred who can afford it go to enjoy mortals that have been expertly prepared by Dr. Richard Dunham. So it's a real place. Okay. Primogen. Primogen Council, representative of the major Camarilla factions in the area. Whether they are the clan elders or a gathering of those who hold the largest hunting grounds, they speak directly to the prince, who will do best by listening to their advice. More than one lord has been ousted by their own council. Then we have the Anarch. So, Barons is a title used by the Anarch. An Anarch leader ruling over a domain, this is the Anarch movement's equivalent of a prince. And then we have lore from the world of darkness itself, the Beast. Every vampire possesses the Beast, a force within that pushes them to serve their baser instinct. They are urges of violence and perversion that are constantly threatening to turn the vampire into a ravenous monster, completely devoid of reason. This is a real danger for the masquerade. Blood Bond. Anyone who drinks the fresh blood of a vampire becomes progressively more attached to their donor until finally, after 3 drinks or more, the bond reduces them to servile lackeys when in the donor's presence. Vampires call the one bonded the thrall, and term the source of the bond the regnant. When under a completed blood bond, the thrall experiences a sense of loyalty, sometimes even infatuation towards their regnant. Their attempt to please their master, becoming wary and eventually even terrified of angering them. Blush of life. Unless intentionally brought to a semblance of life, the body of a vampire is functionally dead. Undeath signifies its presence in a pale or ashy skin, cold flesh, and lack of breath, except to speak, or lack of heartbeat. By sending their blood through the dead capillaries or the skin and into their shriveled heart, a vampire can appear completely human for a night, including but not limited to a heartbeat, body temperature, and breath. The vampire can even pass a cursory medical examination, though they still fail more intrusive screening for minutes tells such as the absence of intestinal flora, and also when they pass EKG, the brain is dead, so it draws a blank. So sometimes the humans and the hunters will call vampires blank, because that's what they show on the ECG test. Vessel. Donor, vulgar, a source of blood for sustenance or pleasure, primarily mortal. Coterie, a small group of kindred united by the need for support and sometimes common interest. Diablerie. Amaranth, archaic, an act reviled by most vampires. Diablerie involves drinking another vampire dry, ingesting not only their blood but their very essence. Vampires with a religious bent speak of consuming the victim's very soul, and those who can sense auras can clearly see the stains afflicting the perpetrator. And in some case, if you diablerize another vampire, the beast will take the voice of the previous vampire. You like when you fight with your inner beast and you take over, sometimes it's like the vampire that's been dried, you want to claim back the body that he lost, and he will try to, get back. Embrace. The act of transforming a mortal into a vampire. The embrace requires the vampire to drain her victim and then replaces that victim's blood with a bit of her own. Final death. Though no longer mortal, vampires still face the possibility of a final death. A vampire who dies once again is said to have suffered the final death. In addition to fire, sunlight, and decapitation, vampire flesh cannot withstand endless traumatic force. Enough bullets can drive them into torpor. Once in torpor, the vampire becomes a helpless target for their foes. Generation. The number of steps between a vampire and the mythical Cain, how far descended from the first, a given vampire is. The first generation is Cain, the second is his children, and the third is the 13, the antediluvian. Then there's fourth, fifth, sixth. A sire is one generation lower than their child, and the 11th generation kindred sires, 12th generation vampires. All vampires gain an unholy prowess for the blood, but not all blood is equal. The closer vampire is to their mythic progenitor Cain, the greater the potential of their vitae. A vampire's generation does not necessarily indicate their age. An elder might have sired a vampire of the 10th generation, while when Columbus sailed, a Methuselah could have begotten a vampire of the 6th generation last year. Ghoul. A mortal who drinks a vampire's blood becomes something both more or less than human for a time. Derisively called a ghoul by Western vampires, the mortal gains a smidgen of the powers of a true vampire. The vitae consumed not only brings a rush, but also arrests the aging process. The effects are temporary, however, and if weaned off vampire blood, the mortal deteriorates rapidly as the years catch up with their halted aging. Vampire use ghouls as retainer, where loyalty outweighs keeping the masquerade. So basically, they're saying that if you make a ghoul, he has to drink vampire blood regularly. If he stops, like the aging process will catch on. Like say you've been a ghoul for 100 years. If you stop drinking vampire blood, you're gonna die. Hunger. Part appetite, part lust, part addiction. Hunger gives voice to the blood and claws to the beast. It calls to vampires constantly, whispering and screaming of needs, urges, and desires. Every vampire awakens to hunger and must kill to completely silence it. The kindred pay for their immortality and their powers and hunger, and the bill is always coming due. Kindred. Cainite, archaic. The Camarilla term for vampire as a whole, or a single vampire. According to rumor, this term came about in the 15th or 16th century after the Anarch Revolt. Masquerade. The great conspiracy hiding the existence of vampire from mortals, designed to protect vampires from destruction at the hands of mankind. The masquerade was adopted after the medieval Inquisition claimed many kindreds on lives. So yeah, there was a council at Torrance during the medieval time, and this is when they decided to instill the masquerade, like rules to keep the beast at bay and traditions such. This is the only Camarilla traditions universally respected, but also the one that is broken most often. A sloppy feeding with witnesses, a vulgar display of undead might, a confession to a beloved mortal. These things happen, but kindreds are expected to clean up after themselves, or they will be hell to pay. The crime world code, snitches get stitches, doesn't even begin to describe how seriously both the Camarilla and the Anarch take the masquerade. In the age of social media, clickbait, and fake news, a masquerade breach is easily overlooked by the masses, but any transgression can end with a Black Ops team kicking in the heaven door. Only the craziest of Cainites superiority fanatics dream of an age when they can only rule openly, the rest have faced reality. The undead fare better as parasitic powers behind the throne than as great predators or infernal lords of human dominions. There's also the promised land, like when they talked about New Carthage. It's like there was a time when the vampires and humans can live together without the masquerade, and there would be a common accord, like, okay, you can feed from them, they will not be treated like cattle, but at some point the hunting instinct of the vampires will kick in and will destroy everything. Like, nothing is internal, even for vampires. The Hartford Chantry. While New England certainly isn't lacking a vampire stronghold, the Hartford Chantry is the most famous Tremere haven. A direct rival to the Salem Chantry, Hartford has held its own for several centuries, during which it was subject to infighting, enemy attacks, and turf wars. Its influence, which fluctuated over the years, greatly increased under the reign of John Race, who led the domain until 2014. His successor, Dedeb Osborne, seems intent on maintaining this same momentum in the years to come, as demonstrated by the recent detente between Hartford and Boston. All right, we're gonna see a big abridge of what's happened during the intro, but basically, the information that we got when we purchased the game is that there's been a merger between Boston and Hartford. The domain has been merged. The former prince has been kicked out, and the new prince, Hazel, which is a Ventrue, came in, and she allied herself with the Hartford Chantry, and this is where shit breaks loose. Retainer, a mortal in the service of a vampire, commonly a ghoul. The terms are usually interchangeable, with retainer being the polite choice. And the Institute. Kindred must blend in among the mortal masses. Some Malkavian believe they need to be treated in order to do this by reducing the delusion they make that makes them stand out. The previous Prince of Boston, Quentin King, created an asylum when members of his clan could seek treatment. It was called the Institute. Okay, so those are all the available terms for the lexicon of Vampire the Masquerade. There's some for Boston. Okay, so this is the name of the vampire for Boston's. We're gonna see them later on, and then we have the trait for each character, the talents for each character. So let's go back to the main menu. We're gonna return to the main menu and start a new game. I was messing a bit with the game. I had a bit of issue when I booted the game. Basically, the game crashed a lot. It took like 3 or 4 times. I have to reboot. I have to hard reboot my PlayStation and then reboot again and then check and see if it was still playing. It was still playing the game correctly.